Nostradamus, born in 1503, was a man ahead of his time. While Europe struggled against plagues and wars, he wrote quatrains full of symbolism. Although his texts are difficult to interpret, over the years they have been linked to events such as the fall of the Twin Towers, the rise of Hitler, and even the COVID-19 pandemic. But the most chilling thing is that some of his visions seem to resonate in 2025. The final prophecy will shock you. In one of his writings, we find the quatrain that says, "The sky will ignite, the lands will tremble, two great nations will clash. The shadow of fire will cover the world, and a new leader will rise in desolate lands." Many interpreters claim that this quatrain points to a large-scale global conflict that could begin this very year. Are we perhaps on the brink of a new era of chaos? Another of the predictions attributed to Nostradamus for 2025 speaks of an unprecedented natural disaster. According to interpretation, this year could bring with it climatic disasters that will alter life as we know it. In their texts, it is written, "When the winds become lethal and the waters devour the shores, humanity will seek refuge in the cold void." This has been interpreted as a possible environmental collapse. Current scientists warn that climate change is reaching an irreversible point, with devastating floods, storms of unprecedented magnitude, and heat waves that will sweep everything in their path. Nostradamus also mentioned what some call the disease of silence. In his quatrains we find, "The invisible plague will advance without respite, blinding the reason of men. A remedy will be found, but late, and half of the world will remain in twilight." Experts who have studied these words assert that it could be a new disease, more dangerous than previous ones, that will test human resilience. Although it could be controlled, the initial damage would be devastating. Nostradamus also wrote, "Great powers will clash, cruel wars will ravage lands, Western influence will decline, and new forces will emerge in the East." This quatrain has been interpreted as a reference to armed conflicts between nations and the shift in the global balance of power. The Global Risks Report 2025 by the World Economic Forum highlights that armed conflicts between countries are considered the most urgent and immediate global risk for this year, reflecting the increase in geopolitical tensions and fragmentation on a global scale. Additionally, Comfort Arrow, president of the International Crisis Group, points out the resurgence of spheres of influence and the growing assertion of emerging powers, which exacerbates global tensions. Another of Nostradamus' quatrains says, "From the east will come the Punic Heart to harass Hadria and the heirs of Romulus, accompanied by the Libyan fleet. The Maltese and the nearby plundered islands will tremble." This prophecy has been interpreted as the arrival of an economic crisis that would affect Europe, especially Mediterranean countries like Spain, Italy, Malta, and Greece. According to some interpretations, this recession could lead to the collapse of financial and social entities in the region. In line with this prediction, recent reports indicate that by 2025, more than 300 million people will depend on humanitarian aid due to various crises, including economic ones. However, financial constraints will only allow assistance for 190 million, which could exacerbate inequalities and provoke social unrest. Nostradamus warned, "For 40 years the rainbow will not appear. For 40 years it will be seen every day. The dry land will increase its aridity, and a great flood when it is seen." This quatrain has been interpreted as a reference to extreme climatic phenomena, such as prolonged droughts followed by devastating floods. The Global Risks Report 2025 also highlights that extreme weather events, such as floods, heat waves, and storms, continue to top the list of risks both in the short and long term. These phenomena intensify other risks such as poverty, forced migration, and food insecurity, creating a domino effect that is difficult to contain. Moreover, the International Court of Justice is considering a historic advisory opinion on the international obligations of countries to protect the environment and the consequences of failing to do so, in a context of growing skepticism about the effectiveness of climate agreements. Additionally, the WHO has requested $1.5 billion to address health emergencies in 2025, anticipating that conflicts, natural disasters, and epidemic outbreaks will cause around 300 million people to require medical assistance. Nostradamus' prophecies for 2025 seem to resonate with current events and trends, from geopolitical conflicts to economic crises and natural disasters. Although his quatrains are enigmatic and open to interpretation, it is undeniable that many of his visions find echoes in the contemporary world. Are these coincidences mere happenstances, or do they reflect a deep understanding of the cycles of history? The answer is left to each person's interpretation. The words of Nostradamus are as enigmatic as they are revealing, but what we have explored here is just the beginning. In the second part of this story, we will unravel the most intriguing prophecies that we have not yet touched. What secrets do they hold about the fate of humanity and the possible global change? Make sure you don't miss what's coming. Stay tuned, the future might be closer than you think. What do you think? Are we witnessing the fulfillment of Nostradamus' prophecies? Leave it in the comments.